Los Jedi justifican su dominación galáctica en nombre de la paz. Pero esa paz es una mentira.
First of all, congratulations on the show. What I loved most about it is how different it feels from other Star Wars, but at the same time, it is Star Wars. So that's my first question. How did you find that balance, between taking Star Wars into its own path, while at the same time keeping the spirit?
It's a great question. As a fan, I always knew I would be able to do the Star Wars-ness of it, just because I've just spent so much of my life thinking about what I would do if I got a Star Wars, all the things I would want to put into it, all the things that we haven't seen in live action that I would want to see, like a Wookiee Jedi and light whip and witches and some of the other things. They're spoilers, so I won't tell you.
Okay.
But lightsaber duels. The harder aspect of it was to make sure that I stayed true to a story that would compel the audience, that they would feel connected to. So I do think we've achieved that, and it took a lot of work and looking inward to make that happen.
Yeah. Star Wars keeps redefining what a Jedi is and what it means to be a Jedi, right? What is a Jedi to you, and what does it mean to be a Jedi for this series?
It's a really good question. I mean, of course, the definition of Jedi is a guardian of peace and justice throughout the galaxy. A Jedi does or does not. There is no try. There's a distinct code of honor with being a Jedi. I think for me, what I was interested in looking at was, is it possible to have that code and live up to that code, and then also have your own emotional crisis, which I think Luke has. But it was interesting if you looked at it from the perspective of the Jedi at the height of their power.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like this show is a bit lower stakes than other Star Wars shows, like in the sense that it's a mystery. It's not a huge galactic war. It's actually a time of peace. So what opportunities did that bring you, in terms of storytelling and incorporating different genres?
Well, you're absolutely right. One of the challenges of working in this time period is that, it's called Star Wars, but there's no war. So It was a little, well, where's the war in this Star Wars? And what I discovered was, while it was difficult, because I come from theater, because I come from much, like you said, smaller, lower stakes that are more personal, that I had to reach back into that training and to the beginnings of my writing career to make sure that the thrust of the show wasn't reliant on conflict or intergalactic conflict, but was based on the conflict between sister and sister, apprentice master, father daughter, and so these dynamics that you've seen throughout Star Wars media, but maybe highlighted a little bit more, and the intergalactic conflict, not existing. Yeah.
You've mentioned before Kill Bill and Frozen as reference points for the Acolyte, and I definitely see it, when I saw the episodes. Yeah, totally. The sisters, everything. Tell me about that in particular, and other films or stories that might have influenced you in.
Yes, absolutely. I don't know how I came up with that. It was just as I was breaking the story and preparing to pitch it to Kathleen Kennedy, I just thought, wow, it's really Frozen meets Kill Bill. Like, it just kind of occurred to me in looking at the pitch and rehearsing it over and over again. And I'm glad you're getting that. Other inspirations was anime Cowboy Bebop, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. A big one is a movie called Come Drink With Me by the Shaw Brothers. And then a movie that I, is Casablanca, because it's a war movie with no war in it. It's really about what each character's, what's the word? Alliance, what side they're on is really much more the background, and then the the personal relationships are affected by it, but they're not, and by the external conflicts, but their interactions are deeply intimate.
Yeah, that's very interesting. You mentioned it, so I think I have permission to talk about the witches. I'm not gonna give spoilers or anything, but you get to explore them in a way that hasn't been done in Star Wars before. So what was it like for you to develop that more unknown, and more inherently feminine side of Star Wars?
Well, I got the idea of the witches from Clone Wars, from the Night Sisters, and I was excited about creating my own coven, my own character, my own witch characters. The first thought that I had was the film Black Narcissus. I sort of loved the idea of this female community that well-intentioned, very powerful, but at the same time, there's this this underbelly of or this this darkness underneath their intentions and what they worship, what they value. So I liked the idea of Force-sensitive beings that were practicing the Force or learning the Force in a way that the Jedi might consider to be dark-sided, but that the audience would be introduced to it as a good thing. Yeah.
There's another relatively new thing, the Force food, which you also explore more in depth here. How do you kill someone without a weapon? Tell me about that. How does that fight style fit into the show?
Well, I like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, which really draws from wuxia films rather than samurai films. That was the genre that I kept returning to in terms of an inspiration. They're usually very they usually have a female protagonist. They're usually very romantic in their movements. So I thought in telling a story about female warriors, it was a good place to start. A more practical reason for having the things that you're talking about is that because this is an era of peace, I thought the Jedi wouldn't be pulling out their lightsabers all the time. There aren't battle droids, there aren't other people with lightsabers, so hand-to-hand combat seemed like what they would resort to first, or is that what they would start with, and then they would resort to that. A theme throughout, therefore, is the Jedi don't attack the unarmed. There's no reason to attack someone unless provoked. So as our Acolyte tries to kill a Jedi without a weapon, they're trying to psychologically affect the Jedi and say, you have to come at me, even though everything in your code says that you shouldn't. But because I am an unarmed person, I need to trouble you psychologically enough that you will want to hurt me. So you're bringing out the dark side in the Jedi. So.
Wow, you really thought of everything.
Yeah, I hope it comes through. I hope it
does.
in the show,
Thank you so much.
because there's so much thinking about it, but then it's like, well.
No, it does come through. Thank you so much for your time. It's a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah,
you
you
gave me
too.
so much.
Yeah,
Thank you so
I love
much.
your shirt. I know I said that
thank
already.
you.
No se trata del bien ni del mal. Se trata del poder y de quién puede usarlo.
¿Qué es eso?